stand for the invocation and the prayer. Councilman Hargett.
Let us pray. Father, we pause to give you thanks for a good day. Thank you for the blessings that you give our good folks in Dorchester County and our state today. Lord, remember all the first responders in our county who take such good care of us as the citizens. The EMS, the fire service, and the sheriff's office. We're indebted to them and we're grateful for what they do for us. We also remember those men and women who serve in our armed forces, many of them far away from here. Lord, would you comfort them tonight? Would you protect them, bring them home to us? We ask that you be with this council tonight as we consider the agenda items that we have. Would you lead us? Would you guide us? And give us wisdom from you? We pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the individual who would like to address county council. And I remind you, you have 3 minutes to speak. Thank you. I hope I'm getting this right. Adrian Washington? Do I have that right, Mrs. Washington?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I would just want to address the council that I live on 108 Mill Pond Road, and we having problems with, our puddles, our road not being fixed. And they already told me that we couldn't get our road fixed because it's private property. But I'm thinking if it's 2 or more houses back there, it shouldn't be considered private property anymore. But they're telling me still I can't get my road fixed, and it's terrible back there where we live at. We got puddles of water when it rains. Some of the elderly folks, they can't even get out. They can't go to their mailboxes. They can't do anything when it rains back there, and our roads are real bad. And I'm asking the county council, would they reconsider the ordinance of getting our road fixed? I have pictures if you need to see how they look when it rains or whatever you want.
Just hold on a second.
Okay.
What's the address?
108 Mill Pond Road.
Okay. I promise you that I'll have somebody come out and look at your road, okay?
Well, they already looked at it, but they just keep
what-
saying it's
okay.
private property. But the road is,
Okay, we're gonna do a follow-up for you.
thank you.
Thank you so much. I hope I'm getting this, Mr. Nick Russo.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Councilman, for that prayer. I feel like you guys aren't taking care of your first responders. I just found out a few days ago that my department may be closing July 1st, and I might be looking for another job at 50 years old. Mr. Bailey, I sent you an email. Unfortunately, you didn't respond, but Mr. Hargett was kind enough to respond and gave me some of the reasons why you were looking at closing my department. And reading them, there were 4 reasons, or 3 reasons, actually. The residents of Ashley River would have the benefit of North Charleston responding to emergencies. Are you guys aware that we have that in place already? Okay, so we could take that off as one of the benefits, so, all right. Another reason, a benefit you said was Dorchester County would only have 3 fire departments operating, and I'm reading this from your notes, in the county. Is 3 a magic number? Why don't we close Somerville down too? Why don't we have North Charleston take over Somerville? Or why not Let North Charleston take over Dorchester too. Let them do everything if they do it best. They're a good department. They're a great department, like us. We're a Class 1 ISO department. Less than 200 fire departments in the nation are Class 1, and we're one of them. And we're the smallest department that's a Class 1. The last benefit, which actually makes sense, is that you would have two Dorchester County EMS ambulances running from our station. That sounds like a good idea. If you ever came to our department during any of the hurricanes, we probably had 3 or 4, along with Dorchester County Sheriff's Office and North Charleston. I'm sure you guys have talked to the chief of my department and asked them about an arrangement to, hey, could we put another ambulance in the department? And I would like a response if you did that, because that would seem so much simpler than what we're going through today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr., I hope I'm getting Marcus Bush. Am I saying that right?
No, sir, but it's okay.
Well, I'm close, right?
No, not even close.
Is
It's
the Bush
been
right?
butchered my whole life, so it's
Bush right?
It's Bush is right.
that right?
Yes, sir. I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to speak. I'm here. I live at 5117 Morrow Lane, and I have the fortunate pleasure of living on the line where I live in the city of North Charleston, but I'm also a Dorchester County resident. The reason I came to speak was on the behalf of the Ashley River Tax District, because these guys helped me out when I was in a jam. My 2-year-old daughter, she's now 3, she decided to put a toilet seat on her head during potty training. The sad reality of it was, when I went to the North Charleston station, guess what? Nobody was there. The reality of it was, when I asked the question of the North Charleston Fire Department, I didn't get a response. And it seemed like it wasn't felt that it was warranted of one. But when I got to Ashley River, I was greeted with, well, my wife was greeted with open arms, and they had a good time. They gave my daughter hats. They made her feel comfortable. She was screaming. She was upset. And they took care of her. And that's kind of what we expect out of our fire department. The other side of it was, there was a fire that happened on my street, and I actually have a fire hydrant in front of my house. The guys didn't know where it was. It hadn't been tested in 2 years. Now, last time, December, I had the unfortunate pleasure of being on the phone with my wife when my dryer caught on fire. And I was told the only reason that I did get a North Charleston unit during that time was because it was shift change, because that unit's not normally there. And that's from North Charleston firemen. I'm not here to dog North Charleston, but every time when I pass that Dorchester Road corridor, I see these guys out working. And as a homeowner who sits on that line and knows that they respond to Kings Grant and other places, kind of want to know that they're still there. It's a big comfort to know that someone is going to be there, and so I wanted to speak on that behalf. If they are going away, I'd like to know what the root decision of that was. Like, where there's normally a root cause when we make a decision, like we want more money needs to go somewhere, there's a cost savings. So I'd like to know a little bit more about the root cause to the decision to dissolve this organization. And once it's dissolved, if it is dissolved, where does the funding go? Does it go back in the general fund? Does it go to specific line items? Where does that funding go? I would love to know that. What'll happen to my homeowner's insurance? Again, I read the article, I read the paper that Mayor Summey sent back to Mr. Bailey, and it pointed out clearly that Ashley River owned the building and the facility and the grounds that they're on. So that means that my ISO would be affected, and my homeowner's insurance would be affected as well, because they wouldn't be able to occupy the station. There's a reverter clause in there that Bosch has to agree to. So has Bosch agreed to give that land to the county or to North Charleston? How will my neighbors, we're a HOA, our HOA is over 630 homes. And we're very concerned of what's gonna happen and who's gonna show up when we call. These guys seem to turn out and show up every time. I thank y'all for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Scott and Abnett?
I'm Chief Scott and Abnett, Chief of the Ashley River Fire Department. You all know that. Maybe some of you all out in the audience don't. I also got the list of talking points that Lieutenant Russo spoke to. I could talk about those. The first one was the efficiency and effectiveness of the fire department. On the South Carolina State Fire website, and several people have asked for the link, and I sent that out, and you all have access to it. 2017 and 2018 statistics. Inevitably, you have to compare us to Dorchester County Fire and North Charleston Fire. We're in Dorchester County, and so that's a fair comparison. When you look at those, we have the lowest fire loss rate for both years, significantly. When you look at the response time, we have the lowest response time, again, significantly, compared to North Charleston that has 12 stations and a tremendous number of assets. And like Lieutenant Russo said, great fire department. So when you look at those statistics, efficiency and effectiveness is pretty well spelled out by the state. This isn't me telling you this is facts. This is data, and we're a data-driven service. EMS makes decisions based on data, and the fire service is slowly moving that way. We have a lot of tradition, so it's hard. I could continue to go down the list, but really, let's talk about the integrity of this process. How you approach this, why I'm standing up here tonight, why the rest of these residents and people from Ashley River and interested parties are here. No notice, it showed up on County Council's agenda. As an action item, it directs the county administrator, the county attorney, and any others within the county to start the process to close the fire district. Again, it goes back to integrity. Mr. Byers talks about character when he runs his campaigns to get reelected. Integrity is a very high character trait. Got 2 new council members on here. This is about integrity, the process. You didn't notify the fire district, and my supervisors are 5 elected officials. They're elected by the residents. They serve 4-year terms voluntarily. There's no compensation, and there was no notification. Mr. Hearn, you're running for mayor of Somerville. Same thing. All of us that live in Dorchester County see what's going on in Somerville. I think the decision here tonight affects the way Dorchester County is looked at. So truly, this is about integrity, how this process has started. What I would suggest, what I think would be prudent, is to start a conversation, open a dialogue with us. Meet with us. We can meet with North Charleston if that's on the table later on, but start the initial dialogue with us versus having us here in the public forum. I don't think it looks good for Dorchester County. I did speak with Robert Bosch representatives this morning. They couldn't be here. They said I could speak about our relationship with them, which is very good and always has been. But let's take a look at the process. Mr. Bailey, this is an opportunity to turn this into a positive. As county council chair, you can strike this from the agenda tonight, item 7, and push it off. And not saying move it to Somerville in 2 weeks, but actually push it off until we actually sit down and talk about this. A lot of questions as to why you would want to do this. We're Dorchester County's only Class 1 fire department that belonged to Dorchester County. We were the first. And so this does send a message, not just locally here in our local community, Ashley Rivers Fire District, but all the telephone calls and stuff were taken from City of North Charleston residents. And honestly, a couple of fire chiefs in different parts of the state have called me about it. Because it looks like our fire department, the county's Ashley River Fire Department, is being shopped out. So I appreciate your time, and I hope you take that into consideration.
Thank you, sir. I gave you some extra time. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Dr. Richard Duncan?
Evening, gentlemen and ladies. I am Dr. Richard Duncan. I am the chairman of the Fire Board of Ashley River Fire District. I am publicly elected like you. I'm here to speak a couple of minutes as Fire Board chairman and then as a minute or two as a resident of this fire district. The first thing I want to say as Fire Board chairman is I am absolutely disillusioned with the methodology of what county council is doing here. You never one time contacted us in any official manner. No dialogue was open. And that just angers me. It really does. You didn't give us a chance to talk. We didn't even know about this a couple of days ago. It comes out of nowhere. We have been disenfranchised as a political group, much like I am elected, just like you. So I don't get paid, but I'm elected to that office to represent the residents of the fire district. And we have been ignored, disrespected. You just took this upon yourself to say, this is best for those people. Mr. Hargett, a minute ago in your prayer, you said, well, Lord, I'm thankful for our first responders. So am I. Well, then let's put some feet under those prayers and do something for these first responders. This fire department is without question the best fire department in Dorchester County, and you're ready to sell it off like a garage sale. And it angers me. And I don't usually get this blunt, but it's time for some blunt talk. It angers me. It has been done in a way that's lacks integrity, and that bothers me a lot. There's a lot of questions to be answered here. You care about the first responders? How about the people that are going to lose their jobs? North Charleston can fight fires. I have no bad things to say about the city of North Charleston. They know how to fight fires. What's going to happen is the people are going to lose their autonomy. You heard from this one gentleman said the importance of being able to have communication back and forth. Our fire department's been there for 40 years. Our people know us. They can come in the front door. They know us. We have relationship. If we get sold out to North Charleston, that relationship goes away. Because then firefighters will become gunslingers. They're hired hands coming to fight fires, and they don't know us because we won't actually be a resident of the city of North Charleston. It just doesn't sound right. Finally, I want to say this. You want to do something courageous? I'm going to challenge you. And if you haven't listened to me yet, listen to me now. I want to challenge, delay this. This is not urgent. This fire department's been here 40 years. This doesn't have to be done tonight. Matter of fact, it never should have been done in St. George, if you want my opinion. It should have been done in Somerville, where you're closer to the people that you're talking about. But I'm going to challenge one thing, then I'm done. Delay this and do this. I would challenge Mr. Bates especially. Turn this over to the people. You want democracy in action? Take the county council out of it and make it a referendum and put it on a ballot and let the residents of the fire district decide their fate. If you don't trust the people, you don't deserve to sit up there in those chairs anyway. And neither do I. So this is not an urgent matter. It may be an important matter. I agree it's a very important matter, but this is not urgent. We've been here 40 years. We'll be here next year if you'll let us. It can be done next week, next month. Give the process a chance to work itself out. Come and talk to us. Come and talk to our homeowners associations. Come and talk to the fire district board of directors. And if that doesn't work, turn it over to the people. Say, okay, don't we trust them to decide their own fate, what is best for them? Let them vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Mr. Murphy, Eddie Murphy. Eddie, would you like to speak? Eddie Morris, sir. Thank you.
Give him another hand. And the only reason I did that, because passion is about nothing.
Mr. Morris, you got 3 minutes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
2.5.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Passion is about nothing, all right? It's about the constituency. It's one word, right? The constituency. Council is here, they were voted in, right? Now, they dialed us up and loved us up when it was time for the vote. We voted. They're in. Okay? I think what I'm listening to here now, we don't get anything solved for the fire district. They'll work it out. I believe council can work it out. They realize now that there's a burr under the saddle. Amen? Amen. Now, as I prepare to sit down, we just got an election over. We're just trying to get business started, all right? There's some things need to be done. council has been addressed, all right? Now let's give council an opportunity to operate in the things that they've heard about. Then we can come back and be passionate.
Let me get my glasses so I can read this. Next item on the agenda is adoption of the minutes of the February 4th County Council meeting.
Move to
Necessary
approve.
motion?
Move to approve.
The motion on the floor, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? 6-0. I might add that Councilman David Chenners is absent. His job has called him, and I believe it's in Canada. Next on the agenda is adoption of Proclamation 1902, proclaiming March 2019 as Bleeding Disorder Awareness Month in Dorchester County. And I'll read the proclamation. State of South Carolina, County of Dorchester, Proclamation number 19-02, proclaiming March 2019 as Bleeding Disorder Awareness Month. Whereas Dorchester County, South Carolina is proud to commemorate March 2019 as Bleeding Disorder Awareness Month in the state of South Carolina. And whereas this designation will formalize and expand upon the designation 30 years ago of March 1986 as Hepatologia Awareness Month by President Ronald Reagan. And whereas the Federal Department of Health and Human Services designated March the 16th as National Bleeding Disorder Month. And whereas these bleeding disorders, which share the inability to perform a proper blood clot, are characterized by extended bleeding after injuries, surgery, trauma, menstruation, and can lead to significant mobility and can be fatal if not treated effective. And whereas many individuals with hemophilia became infected with HIV and hepatitis C in the 1980s due to contamination of the blood supply and blood products, and whereas this awareness month will foster a greater sense of community and shared promise and purpose among individuals with all inheritable bleeding disorder. And whereas this awareness month will elevate awareness and engagement in the inheritable bleeding disorder journey beyond our community to the general public, enabling the prevention of illness, unnecessary procedure, and disability. Now therefore be it resolved by the Dorchester County Council, hereby proclaim the month of March 2019 as Bleeding Disorder Awareness Month in Dorchester County, South Carolina, adopted this 19th day of February 2019, signed by George H. Bailey, Chairman, and Tracy L. Langley, Clerk of Court. And not a Clerk of Court, Clerk of Council. And I believe we have a lady here to receive this proclamation. What's her name? Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? Second. Any questions? All in favor? 6-0. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for coming and receiving this. God bless you. Okay, thank you, ma'am. You want us to go down and take a picture? Let's do it. Councilmember, let's go. I can't see it. glass. Next order of business is the public hearing and third reading rezoning request number 778 by David Carey to rezone .48 107 acre at 261 Allspice Drive near Somerville. TMS number 121-1601-002. 03 10.7 acre at Grayback Court near Somerville. TMS number 21-11601-024. And 3900 acre at Grayback Road near Somerville. TMS number 121-1601-026. From single-family residential manufactured housing to single-family residential manufactured housing. The purpose of this rezoning is to reduce the minimum lot size from 14,500 square feet to 7,500 square feet. I open this for a public hearing. Carol.
Thank you, sir. Let's see here.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Carol.
Yes, sir, thank you. This is actually 3 pieces of property at the intersection of Allspice and Grayback. The intent is from single family to single family, but it's from R1M to R2M, is to result in a smaller lot size, approximately from 14,500 square feet to 7,500 square feet, to allow the reconfiguration and redevelopment of the lots. There's a house currently on one lot. The property owner intends to keep it there and revitalize the building, but then subdivide the property to allow for 2 more units on there. The future land use map recommends this as medium-density residential, so reducing the lot size, increasing the density is perfectly in keeping with that. And Planning Commission did unanimously recommend approval of the request for the rezoning at their meeting.
Thank you. Any questions for Carl? Any other person would like to?
Chairman, I'm
Excuse me.
sorry, I
Go
apologize.
ahead.
Just to clarify, and maybe I didn't hear this correctly, it's .03, it's 3/100 of an acre as to TMS number 024. I thought I heard 3/10 of an acre. I don't know if that matters, but just wanted to
03,
clarify
I
that.
might have said it wrong.
Okay.
Just in terms of responding, as it's posted on the agenda, it was advertised
Okay.
for the public hearing.
Okay.
So it's duly noted to the public that this is the correct acreage.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hearn. Any other questions from council members? All right. Thank you. Any other person would like to speak at public hearing? If not, public hearing closed. All in favor? 6-0. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Next item is a public hearing and reading of rezoning request 779 by Hoppers Communities, Nautilus Engineering to rezone approximately 2 acres portion of an 11.44 acre tract located at Onberg Road near Somerville from multifamily residential to single-family attached residential district. TMS number 136000013. I open it for public hearing.
Yes, sir, this is for just a 2-acre portion of a larger piece of property. The council recently rezoned this piece of land right here from R4 multifamily to CG, general commercial, to R3, which was to allow townhouse development. The adjacent parcel was already zoned R4, which does allow for townhouse units. As they've gone through the site development process and they've laid out the units, what they have found is that they have a number of units that actually fall within both zoning districts. So half of the townhouse would fall in R3, half of the townhouse would fall in R4. So the intent of this rezoning, and it's just for the shaded area of the parcel, is to allow the units that'll be constructed to fall within one zoning district. So they will all either fall in R3 or R4. It's just a cleanup as they go forward with their development plans. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the request.
Any questions for council? Any other person would like to speak at the public hearing on this issue? Close the public hearing. Do I have a motion and a second?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? 6-0. Carl?
Mr. Chairman, just housekeeping, and forgive me, I'm hung up on 3D apparently. Did we take a vote?
No, we didn't,
Okay.
and I do apologize.
No, sir. Thank you, sir.
If you allow me to go back to 3D, we had a public hearing, was open, public hearing was closed, and do I have a motion that we accept this?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor? Thank you, Mr. Hearn.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Public hearing and third reading of ordinance to amend Dorchester County zoning and land development standard, ordinance number 0413, with respect to Article X1, Section 115.9 through 11.5.11, additional requirements. I open the public hearing.
Yes, sir, this is a cleanup amendment that's being driven in part by the large number of variance requests that we're seeing within the Ashley River Historic Overlay District. And the summary of it is that when the district was created in 2007, it set a minimum lot size of 3 acres for District 1, 4 acres for District 2, and then established large setbacks on those lots going forward of 50 feet. However, there had already been a number of lots throughout the years that were subdivided that did not meet that minimum 3-acre requirement. Some of the lots in Matiba Estates are only 1/4 of an acre. Other lots, Boyle Plantation, are smaller. Middleton Place has a subdivision. Those lots are smaller. They were not accommodated for when the text was created with that 50-foot setback. So this is just cleaning it up and putting some appropriate setbacks on those lots that don't meet the minimum threshold of either 200 feet in width or the 3-acre minimum. If you take a look at the site plan that was generated, if you apply the setbacks as required by the overlay district, this is an actual lot that was brought to us for consideration. The outline in red is the buildable portion of the lot. It's very small. Most of the lots are too narrow. That's usually where we get it from. So in the relaxed setbacks that we provided, the intent was to open up the side yards of the lot, creating setbacks that would allow for better placement of the house, but still maintaining a generous front and rear. These setbacks are already within the zoning district, or I'm sorry, the zoning code, so we're not creating new setbacks. We're just placing more appropriate setbacks based on that lot size, and it only applies to lots that were created before the district was established in 2007 and which do not meet the requirements. So it's not something that would apply to new lots going forward or larger lots already existing. Planning Commission viewed this in January and unanimously recommended approval.
Do we have any questions? Thank you. Any other person would like to speak to this issue? I close the public hearing. Do we have necessary motion?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Next item, public hearing and third reading of ordinance to amend Dorchester County zoning and land development standards, ordinance number 0413, with respect to Article XV11, Section 17.7, traffic study, and Article XV111, Section 18B, traffic study. Karen.
Yes, sir. The main modification, this is a complete repeal and replace of the traffic study chapter. The main change really is the process for traffic studies, and this involves a new process whereby the county will engage in a contract with several different on-call consulting firms to conduct the traffic studies. The developer will still be required to pay for the traffic studies, but by having several on-call firms, and coincidentally, the town of Somerville is also passing the same ordinance, we would like to have the same firms as them. So we'll bring in consulting firms that have better knowledge of the area. We'll have direct line of communication with those consultants. It'll just make the process go a lot smoother. This doesn't change the thresholds that we established earlier in the year with the code revision that we did. It just changes the process. And Planning Commission unanimously, again, I'm sorry, Mr. Touchberry did recuse himself, but they did vote to recommend approval of the request.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
So I appreciate that we're working with Somerville on this, which is almost unheard of for government entities to work together. However, one of the things that I was curious about is, are we reaching out to North Charleston Because if we're talking about traffic, they are certainly very influential in traffic flow on that Dorchester Road corridor. Are we talking with them about these same things as well?
I will defer that question to Mr. Carraher.
Thank you, Gary. The way that this is set up, to answer your question, not yet. The way this is set up, we are working with City of Somerville, and so North Charleston would have that ability to adopt those same standards that we've adopted, or that we're about to adopt, as well as use the same consultants that we're using through the procurement process. Since we already went through the procurement process to select these consultants, they'll be able to use the same ones. Does that answer your question?
And I appreciate that. I would just love for us to do that, Mr. Ward, whatever we need to do to start having those conversations with North Charleston, I think would be very constructive.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the partnership that y'all doing with some.
I will follow up with the special assistant to the mayor in that regard.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. This would also include if turn lanes are needed, signals, that would include all of that as an impact because of this project.
Yes, sir. I mean, that's the purpose of the traffic study is
Right.
to identify
It's
those.
not just for the roadway, it's also turn lanes and
Yes,
traffic.
that's right.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone else would like to speak to this issue? I close the public hearing. Do I have a necessary motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? 3H, public hearing and third reading of ordinance to amend Dorchester County zoning and land development standard ordinance number 0413 as previously amended with respect to Article 1X, Section 9.2.3, conditional use, Article X, Section 10.4.21, convenience retail and professional service business and conservation district, and Article X1, Section 11.5.13, additional requirements for District 5. Carl?
Yes, sir. This text amendment is to relax the zoning standards. I think this was always the intent when we went through the Cook's Crossroad Design Guidelines process, that we would go back and amend the zoning code to relax the standards that we'd had in place once we got some better site and architectural design. So now that we have those and we're working through the process to adopt them, we're going to go back. This text amendment will remove the size limitations we had placed on buildings. Currently, the ordinance limits commercial buildings to a 3,000 square foot footprint, or if it's a grocery store, it could go up to 25,000 square foot. But now that we have design standards that are work to create a building of a larger size that doesn't have such a visual impact, we didn't feel that it was necessary to have those size limitations in place anymore. So the amendment, the first part of the amendment tonight is just to eliminate those size limitations altogether. The second part of the amendment has to do with the uses. Again, it was felt like once the sites were better controlled through architectural site buffers, access, those types of things, that you could open up the uses. It was very restricted before. So if you look at the uses that we currently have, you could have a hotel motel, you could have convenience retail, which is not a C-store, but it's a very small type of commercial use intended to just facilitate nearby residences. You could have a dock in the box, you could have a medical office right there. The commission discussed it and is opening it up to more retail, so primary retail, so just getting beyond the convenience retail. So you could have those larger stores come in, but they did discuss gas stations. That was a big point of discussion that they had, gas stations and C-stores. At this point, this is coming forward without a recommendation for gas stations. Planning Commission wanted to continue to study that and continue to discuss it, but they did want to move forward with the other text amendments to allow the retail uses and to eliminate the building size limitations. So right now, you do have a recommendation for approval from Planning Commission of the requested text amendment. At this time, though, it's not coming forward with a recommendation for gas stations. That may come at a later time. They will continue to discuss it.
Any questions? Mr. Byers?
Well, you're hitting on a question I was going to ask. I mean, so if we had a Seawee outpost type of outfit that wanted to come out there that also had fuel pumps, right now they don't have a mechanism to do that at that particular intersection?
That is correct. That would still not be an approved use.
Okay.
It-
So
they are still
the commission's
discussing it.
Still looking at it.
That is correct.
Okay.
They were concerned about the environmental impacts that close to the Ashley River.
There's plenty of gas stations pretty close to the Ashley River up near Walmart neighborhood market, so, okay.
Any other questions? Thank you. Any other questions? Any person in public would like to speak to this issue? I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. The motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor? 6-0. Thank you so much. I think, next item is second reading of orders to provide the issuance of sale of not exceeding $16 million Dorchester County, South Carolina General Obligation Bonds, Series 2019, to prescribe the purpose of which the proceeds will be expended to provide for the payment thereof and other matters relating thereto. Yes, Mr. Ward?
I just wanted to remind council that we do have some items that are currently going to be defeased in terms of debt service. So the enactment of this, if council is so inclined, would not require a tax increase.
Do I hear a necessary motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor? 6-0. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Correspondent, Mr. Ward.
Mr. Chairman and council, I don't have any additional items of correspondence at this time.
Thank you so much. Next item is under guest time. We have Dr. Darren Thomas, president of Thomas Media Group, and I'm going to turn this over to you, Mr. Ward. Maybe you can fill us into this.
Yeah, Mr. Thomas wants to address us regarding the Expo Summit that'll be held in North Charleston at the Convention Center. It's been several years since we've been involved, and without stealing all of his thunder, it does provide an opportunity for us to participate in a job fair and an economic summit involving purchasing opportunities and the support of entrepreneurs. So, Mr. Thomas.
Mr. Chairman, Council, thank you so much for the opportunity to come before you tonight. As Mr. Chairman Bailey and Mr. Ward have mentioned, my name is Darren Thomas, and I've had the good fortune of serving all of the Low Country, but specifically Dorchester, Berkeley, Charleston County for the past 20 years with the annual Low Country Black Expo Economic Empowerment Summit. This year represents our 20th anniversary, and the focus of our summit is we have shifted to the 5 pillars of economic empowerment. As we have looked at what moves communities forward, there are essentially 5 pillars, as they're referred to: jobs, entrepreneurship, wealth creation, education, and of course, health. As a part of this family-oriented event, our goal is to really empower citizens throughout the Tri-County Low Country area. And for example, our education component, we have an education fair where we have traditionally created opportunities to assist families with FAFSA assistance. We have a multitude of colleges there. We talk with families about how to obtain funding for college. Wells Fargo has a huge part of that with their focus on helping families to determine the South Carolina Education Lottery is a part of this endeavor, helping families and moving forward with higher education, but also education in the formative years as well. In our job fair, as I mentioned to Mr. Ward some time ago, we have been very fortunate. And the council, please understand, we host this similar event in 3 other parts of the state, all with the support of entities like Wells Fargo, MUSC, City of Columbia, City of Charleston, Charleston County, Boeing, Mercedes-Benz. But Charleston's and the Low Country's event is probably the most dynamic in terms of those entities that participate, particularly from a job standpoint. Mercedes, Boeing, all of those major, Robert Bosch, all of those companies are there talking with citizens from the Dorchester County area regarding those job opportunities that are available. Home ownership is a huge part of our wealth generation and helping families understand in terms of growing and moving families forward. Your home and home ownership is a big part of it. Now, we also recognize and understand that has a profound impact on our municipalities because more homeowners we have, those folks who play into our tax base, they empower our entire communities. Our health, MUSC, Roper, all of our major health partners have had a profound impact from a health perspective. Council, if you don't have health, what do you have? Interesting story, talking with one of our first responders, Highway Patrolman Casey Brown shared an important story with me. Several years ago, as a result of coming to the Black Expo Empowerment Summit, came through our health fair sponsored by MUSC, realized that his PSA level was high. They encouraged him to go get his check. That's when he discovered he had prostate cancer. Now, it's in remission, but he shared that story of just how important this endeavor is. But that's just one facet. The other aspect is entrepreneurship. And Mr. Ward, since our meeting, I've had a meeting with Ms. Cindy Rourke with the Low Country Development Corporation. She has a very specific interest in Dorchester County because she understands, and a part of their focus is realizing not a lot of small businesses need $250,000, which a lot of your box banks traditionally are in the business of loaning. Micro loans, small loans, $50,000, they have a very specific interest in targeting small businesses in the Dorchester County area to get out of of course, Charleston proper and understanding that they're trying to serve this community or this county as well as Berkeley. Now, Council, we have been fortunate because there are so many entities like Google who've come to us and said, hey, we like what you're doing. We understand what you're doing, but the truth of the matter is we've not had Dorchester County's active involvement in several years, and I come before council tonight because a huge percentage of those folks that enjoy and participate in this event are Dorchester County citizens. We see it as the return on investment, being able to promote Dorchester County. As Mr. Ward mentioned, our job fair, we want Dorchester County with careers and opportunities available to be a part of that, but also from a procurement standpoint, because of the entities that participate in the summit and extending through SBA and through many of our other partners procurement opportunities for small businesses, and because of the impact that those entities, those businesses have on our communities. I also, Mr. Ward, we've had a very productive meeting with the COG since our last meeting, and council would be pleased to know that there are so many moving parts and entities that are playing into the success of this. We just would be remiss if we did not have Dorchester County's active involvement, and we see it as a win-win for our community.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. I
Thank you,
appreciate
sir.
you coming.
Thank you.
I think, Mr. Ward, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, council originally had indicated a funding strategy that was inclusive of some funding from the county council contingency for your consideration. It's come to my attention that those funds have been committed to accelerate Charleston 2 in their entirety for the current fiscal year. We do have administrative contingency available, and if you were so inclined to approve our participation, that would be the source of funding. So a motion in that regard, if council would consider that, we make the necessary, we take the necessary actions to be included in the media and other opportunities for Dorchester County to be listed as a sponsor for the expo.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, yes, sir. I'm looking at some of the folks that are committed here, and I see North Charleston as a bronze and Mercedes bronze. What's the bronze commitment?
75. I'm sorry, no, 5,000.
5,000. Okay, the silver 75, and then gold is 15.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Thomas? Do I have a necessary motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion. I'm not sure if we've talked about it. I mean, but I see North Charleston as a bronze sponsor. I'm certainly comfortable with making the motion to be a bronze sponsor as well.
Do I have a second to that?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Next item on the agenda, I think that Ms. Councilwoman Harriet Hallman was going to make a presentation, but I believe Mr. Grady Jones is not present. This would happen at a later date. Am I right?
That's correct.
Thank you so much. Next item on the agenda is Mr. Andrew Prentice, Dorchester County Deputy Administrator, CFO, to give the presentation of the January 2019 monthly budget report.
Good evening. I'm going to try to run off my iPad tonight and save some paper. So looking at the January 2019 budget report, I'll start out with the general fund. For the general fund, total budget for the year is $57,815,000. And revenues to date, we started to collect a significant portion of our property tax revenues in January. So revenues to date are $32,998,000. Expenditures to date of $34,086,000. A couple of notes to add in there within the licenses and permits category. Business license fees do make up 59.7% of the year-to-date in that area. And we also posted $1,040,000 in contributions from private sources for the purchase of the Pine Hill Commerce Park. So those were posted in the month of January. For the capital fund, total budget for the year is $8,753,000, revenue to date of $2,823,000, and expenditures to date of $2,717,000. The fire fund, total budget for the year, $6,113,000. Revenues to date, and again, that increased significantly during the month of January because of property taxes, $3,291,000, and expenditures to date of $3,798,000. We did receive a reimbursement from FEMA associated with the Old Fort claim from Winter Storm Pax in 2014. That goes back a little bit, and the county also received their share of that as well. Water and sewer fund, total budget of $27,588,000, revenues of $15,069,000, and expenses of $16,563,000. I will note that we posted $726,000 of developer contributions in January. One thing I didn't say in the general fund is we also made our transfers between our enterprise funds to our general fund, so you'll see those happen in the transfers out within these enterprise funds. We also posted the $175,000 contribution from the Water and Sewer Fund for the purchase of the Pine Hill Commerce Park. Stormwater Fund, total budget of $3,862,000, revenue to date of $1,499,000. Again, those revenues come in on the property tax bills, so those started to pick up in January, and expenses of $1,440,000. And we did also make that that transfer to the general fund for overhead allocations. Go back here, and last but not least, the Solid Waste Fund, total budget for the year of $7,709,000. Total year-to-date revenues of $4,177,000, and expenses of $3,331,000, and nothing of note to list there. Happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Any question of Daniel?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Prentice. We appreciate it. Next on the agenda is our county administrator's time, Jason Ward.
Mr. Chairman and Council, I have two items for your consideration. First item is a request for approval for up to $100,000 annually to be allocated from the Economic Development Fund to fund Dorchester County's share of Pine Hill Business Campus Property Owners Association operating costs. This is up to $100,000 with the anticipated expenses in the initial year for new signage as well as securing the site. We anticipate that cost will drop in subsequent years to approximately $80,000 and will subsequently be dropped as we are successful in being able to sell sites in the business campus. Ask for your approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? 6-0. Thank you, Mr. Ward. Next.
The next item I have for your consideration is a request for approval for an amendment to the HR policy manual regarding the county's promotional policy to proactively address concerns with compression. Long story short, with the number of new employees we have, we're concerned that our existing policy may put some employees in a position that have longer tenure with being paid less or the same amount as newer employees, because currently we don't have the flexibility with promotion to provide an increase up to 10%, which takes into consideration internal equity. We are requesting that you give the flexibility of up to 10%. So in those cases where a 10% increase would cause a newer employee that is less tenured to be paid more than one that has more tenure, that the salary will be adjusted accordingly.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Got a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? 6-0. Thank you so much. Next item on the agenda is appointments to board and commission. Do we have any appointments? I would like to make an appointment to Ms. Jane Horton to the Dorchester County Library Board. Help me out, people. Do I have a motion?
You got the motion.
Oh.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you so much. Next item on the agenda is County Attorney, Mr. John Frampton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item at a time would be authorization to instruct the county administrator, county attorney, and other appropriate county staff to prepare any necessary ordinances, resolutions, any other documents necessary to commence the process of the abolishment and dissolution of the Ashley River Special Tax District to be effective July 1st of 2019.
You've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion on the floor in a second?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion regarding this.
Beg pardon?
I'd like to make a motion regarding this item. You want me to do it now or later?
Do we have a necessary motion? Do you want to make a substitute motion?
Yes.
Okay, do we have a necessary motion to start with?
I'm going to make a motion for discussion.
I certainly second it for discussion to hear what Mr. Hart
Okay.
has to say.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hargett.
I've had a number of people call me regarding this who were not able to come tonight, and they want to be able to speak to council. So my motion would be to table or postpone this item until the Somerville meeting on March the 4th. That's my motion. Table the discussion.
Mr. Hargett has a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second for discussion and say this, understanding that there's no action being taken this evening, and all three readings and the public hearings will be held in Somerville.
Right.
Is that, am I stating that correctly, assuming the schedule is such? But the next three meetings are in Somerville. So, okay.
Anybody else would like to talk on this issue?
So just to be clear, this is just the mechanism with which we would start the process. Those readings are going to be in Somerville where people can be there to speak it to that a lot closer. Yeah. I mean, by no means, okay.
So with my motion, we'd be delaying that 2 weeks to start the process.
Any other discussion? Do we have a second? You have a second to that for discussion, Mr. Hearn? Okay.
Oops, I'm sorry, wait.
You,
My technology is...
that's right. It's catching up with us. So there is a motion on the floor for Mr. Hargett to delay it for 2 weeks. The first meeting in Somerville. That would be the
4th.
The 4th. Yes.
So we got to do 3 readings, which if we did that and we delayed it 2 weeks, then if we end up going through it, the third reading for that particular issue would be back up here.
That's right. That's right.
Then, okay, then I'd rather the third reading be down there so that all 3 readings are in Somerville. If we do go through this, I think that's something that those folks should have close proximity to come to.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Ward, I think we can change the meeting places as long as we do it in a timely manner, can we?
Let me just add that if it is the desire of council, but let me back up a second. There are two processes that must be gone through. One is 3 readings of an ordinance, which requires a public hearing, and the other is a resolution calling for a public hearing. We can schedule those public hearings so that they're in Somerville if that's the desire of council. You can give first reading to the ordinance at the next meeting. You could adopt the resolution at the next meeting. We can schedule the public hearings so they coincide with a meeting of council in Somerville, if that is the desire of the body. So the second, you could have the second reading on the ordinance and a public hearing at the same time, or you could have the public hearing at the time of the third reading of the ordinance. Whatever works with the terms of the schedule of council to be in Somerville for the public hearing, that can be arranged. And I think that's what I'm hearing from the consensus of council without a vote, is that you wish for the public hearings to be held in Somerville.
Right.
That can certainly
Right.
be accomplished.
Right. That's the big issue, yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions?
Well, I guess the question would be then, based on that, Mr. Hargett, you want to still proceed with your motion?
Yes, I do, because some people wanted to speak before we even started the process, and they weren't able to come. 2 of them are invalids, can get to Somerville, couldn't come here. And I'm not making this up. They requested that we delay this until we go back to Somerville.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor? Raise your hand. Okay, 5 to 1 abstention. 4 in, wait a minute, let me see, how many we
Back
got?
to Somerville?
Back to Somerville.
4 and 2 abstentions.
I'll just abstain. I
Okay.
think we're delaying the inevitable. I think we ought to have a conversation. I'm going to say this. We need to engage with Ashley Rivers' leadership and have a
Agreed.
conversation.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay,
And that needs to happen.
well, I'll vote for that too. So we have, what about it, Mr. Myers? You all right with this? 6 to nothing. Okay, thank you.
So I understand the motion was to postpone the matter until the next meeting in Somerville?
Yes, sir.
Right.
6 to 0?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Right.
Is that reflected?
All right, Mr. Frampton, next item is executive session.
Next, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate council's consideration of going into executive session to discuss 4 contractual matters. The first being a proposed agreement with Hodges Production LLC to use a portion of the former county detention center for the purpose of filming. The second is a memorandum of understanding with Dorchester Seniors, Inc., for the purpose of a joint use facility at the Pine Trace Park. Third is a discussion of a potential real estate transaction involving the Dorchester County Development Corporation. The last item being a property purchase from Mr. Limehouse. Lastly, a confidential economic development project. I'd request executive session for all 5 of those items.
Let me make an announcement before we go into executive session. Call for the 8A is proposed agreement with Hodges Production LLC for filming at the former county detention center has been called off. Am I right?
Yeah, we were informed by the producers that they no longer want to use the former detention center. And yes, so it was just brought to my attention today, Mr. Frampton, so my
That's fine.
apologies.
That will not be discussed in executive session.
Okay,
Thank you,
so we
Mr. Chairman
scratch
of the
that.
board.
All right, now, all in favor?
Do we have a motion?
6 to nothing. We're in executive session. Thank you
Do we
so
have a
much.
motion?
I'd started.
Yeah.
Sir?
You know, the reception or registration's
Yeah.
like
Mr. Frampton?
Council discussed the previously announced items, but no action was taken.
Do we have any motions?
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion.
Target?
I move that the county administrator be authorized to enter into and execute a memorandum of understanding between Dorchester County and Dorchester Seniors Incorporated for the construction of a joint-use facility at Pine Trace Park.
There's a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? 6-0. Any other motions?
Mr. Chairman, and I don't know if you can see me, I've shrunk down here so low. It's just,
Jack him up.
this chair
Put that
is
in, jack him up.
collapsing.
Been there, done that.
Sorry. After receiving information from the county attorney regarding the status of the title, I would move that county council authorize the county administrator to proceed with the purchase of the property on the Ashley River from Thomas Limehouse.
You heard the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? 6-0. Any other motion? Madam,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
there's a motion on the floor to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Meeting's adjourned. Good meeting.